The year is 1944. Weeks before the Allied invasion of France, the OSS, Office of Strategic Services, America's fledgling intelligence agency, was engaged in a series of highly deniable, deep penetration missions to soften the German defenses. Most of these missions involve sabotage and reconnaissance. But one operation, Operation Delta Black, was different. It was a mission targeting a secret that the Nazi regime went to unimaginable lengths to protect, a project that dealt not with steel or explosives, but with the human mind. The entire elite OSS team, codenamed Nightshade, vanished near a remote, heavily forested region in eastern France, close to a massive, undisclosed German bunker complex. Official OSS records, which were subsequently purged and replaced with a single, vague note about loss of contact during routine insertion, offered no explanation. We are here to uncover the truth hidden within the OSS Archive's forbidden file. The unit, led by Captain Mark Delaney, was composed of 6 specialists, trained for deep penetration night raids and highly resistant to psychological stress. Their primary objective, meticulously detailed in the single surviving fragment of the mission briefing, was to infiltrate the perimeter of the complex, secure photographic evidence of the German project, and neutralize any personnel involved in the research. The target was known only to the highest levels of the OSS as Projekt Phantom. This was not a conventional weapons factory. According to the fragmentary intelligence reports compiled by the OSS before the mission, Projekt Phantom was a research and development facility run directly by the SS Ahnenerbe and focused on experimental psychological defense. The core concept was to weaponize fear and disorientation, creating a localized perimeter that would incapacitate trained enemy operatives through non-lethal, yet debilitating mental attack. The bunker complex itself was immense, built into the side of a steep, ancient hill, capable of withstanding heavy aerial bombardment. Its presence in an otherwise militarily quiet zone was the first major anomaly. Our investigation uncovered a logistics manifest from the German organization, TOTE, detailing the specialized construction materials delivered to the site. The manifest, found in a destroyed French railway depot, listed unusually large quantities of high-density ceramic tiling, non-reflective glass wool, and specialized acoustic dampening panels. These materials are completely unnecessary for a standard command bunker, but are essential for an experimental facility designed to generate, contain, and control acoustic or light-based frequency pulses. The true nature of Projekt Phantom was becoming alarmingly clear. It was a massive, subterranean laboratory for sensory warfare. The insertion of the Nightshade team went perfectly on the night of August 12, 1944. They were parachuted several kilometers from the bunker and moved under cover of dense forest. Their communication log, a brief, encrypted summary sent back to their British SOE liaison, confirmed they had reached the complex's outer perimeter. The log reads, "Objective visibility high. Perimeter clear. Proceeding to inner zone. All quiet, but the silence is unnatural." This was the final transmission. The liaison waited for the scheduled 24-hour check-in. Nothing. Then 48 hours. Silence. No sauce. No flares. No signs of struggle were reported by local French resistance cells operating in the area. The entire team simply disappeared into the French night. The first official search was initiated by the French resistance, weeks later, after the Germans had evacuated the area during their general retreat. Their report, highly detailed and emotionally charged, noted finding evidence of the OSS team's presence near the main entrance. Discarded cigarette butts, American ration wrappers, and a small, hastily buried US M1 carbine. But they found no bodies, no blood, and no signs of entry into the bunker itself. It was the physical evidence of a mission that stopped instantaneously at the threshold of the target. The subsequent investigation into the disappearance fell to the U.S. Army's Counterintelligence Corps, CIC. Their final report, initially marked Subject, Enemy Psychological Operations, details the interior of the abandoned Projekt Phantom bunker. The CIC found a vast, empty laboratory complex. The central chamber was lined entirely with the specialized ceramic and acoustic panels documented in the Tote Manifest. In the center of the chamber, the CIC found a massive, complex apparatus that had been hastily dismantled by the retreating Germans. It was identified only as a harmonic resonance emitter. The most disturbing finding was documented in an annexed technical report. The CIC found remnants of a bizarre chemical compound smeared on the floor and walls of the central chamber. The compound was an unknown synthesis of psychoactive drugs and light-sensitive phosphors. This suggests the German experiment was two-pronged, using low-frequency acoustic resonance to disorient and combining it with light-sensitive chemical agents to induce hallucinations or extreme, debilitating fear. The entire complex was a terrifying psychological trap, designed to reduce a highly trained operative to a gibbering, paranoid victim. The truth about the Nightshade team's final moments is hinted at in a fragment of a German psychological assessment file that the CIC recovered. The document, clearly relating to an in-progress experiment, contained a series of rapidly drawn sketches depicting extreme human terror, sensory overload, and eventual mental collapse. The final page contained a handwritten note by the SS chief scientist, Dr. Wilhelm Kessel, no relation to the engineer from Project Schwarzsahn, which read, "The combination is too effective. Subject 6, male, foreign origin, achieved total shutdown within 40 minutes. Disposal imminent." This chilling fragment strongly suggests that at least one member of the Nightshade team was captured, not for interrogation, but for live testing of the psychological defense system. The capture was silent, instantaneous, and purely psychological. The resonance emitter, coupled with the psychoactive chemical agents, created an environment of inescapable, manufactured terror, overriding the agent's training and discipline. This explains the buried M1 carbine. The agent, gripped by extreme paranoia, may have intentionally buried his weapon, viewing it as a threat, or perhaps he collapsed before he could use it. The OSS erased the operation not just to hide the enemy's technological success, but to bury the horrific fate of their elite team. A psychological collapse too humiliating and too terrifying to ever admit. The catastrophic failure and subsequent erasure of Operation Delta Black immediately triggered a massive, though completely deniable, recovery effort by the OSS. The primary objective was not the bodies of the agents, which were presumed lost or compromised, but the recovery of any physical fragments of the German psychological defense equipment from the Projekt Phantom bunker. The OSS was terrified that the full capabilities of the harmonic resonance emitter could be passed to the Soviet Union. A subsequent, small-scale infiltration was mounted, codenamed Operation Ghostwind, involving a single demolition expert disguised as a retreating German logistics officer. His mission log, found embedded within a seized German vehicle maintenance manual, details the complex's interior after the German retreat. The agent reported that the central chamber was not destroyed, but meticulously stripped of all complex machinery. However, the agent discovered something the initial French resistance search missed: a large metallic sound-dampening coil that had been discarded in a drainage ditch outside the bunker. This recovered sound-dampening coil became the sole piece of physical evidence of Projekt Phantom to fall into Allied hands. The coil was immediately flown to the United States and analyzed at a highly classified facility. The subsequent technical report, labeled OSS Scientific Annex P. 44, provided the first clear understanding of the German device. The coil confirmed that the resonance emitter was designed to focus ultra-low frequencies, ULF, sound waves below the threshold of human hearing, commonly known to cause vertigo, disorientation, and extreme nausea. The report concluded that the ULF field, amplified by the bunker's unique acoustic tiling, could have created a localized zone of pure, paralyzing dread, completely bypassing conventional protective gear. This was confirmed by a chilling note appended to the annex, written by the chief OSS psychologist. The ULF field does not attack the body. It attacks the autonomic nervous system, triggering an evolutionary panic response that cannot be suppressed by training. This realization, that the Germans had engineered a technology that could instantly defeat the psychological resilience of elite troops, was the primary driver for the mission's total erasure. The disappearance of the Nightshade team had a final, devastating technological consequence: the immediate secret cancellation of a critical OSS program. Captain Delaney's team was carrying a prototype device known as the Ghost Listener, a highly sensitive, non-metallic acoustic sensor designed to detect subterranean machinery and radio silence deep behind enemy lines. The Ghost Listener was an essential component of the OSS future strategic reconnaissance plans. Its loss was monumental. The OSS feared that the Germans had not only captured the device, but had analyzed its operating frequencies, allowing Projekt Phantom to develop a specific countermeasure that targeted the American equipment directly. This fear was reinforced by the recovery of a fragmented German field report near the bunker, which referenced an unusual sonic signature detected just hours before the OSS team vanished. The final section of the recovered German psychological assessment file, written by Dr. Wilhelm Kessel, contains a chilling, final observation that cemented this fear. The foreign subject, the captured OSS agent, showed no resistance to the chemical agents, but his collapse was instantaneous upon activation of the 4.5 Hz pulse. The /BM 4.5/text Hertz frequency is precisely within the operational range of the Ghost Listener. This confirmed that the Germans had fine-tuned their psychological weapon to exploit the acoustic signature of the specific American equipment used by the Nightshade team. The fate of the captured OSS agent, Subject 6, was central to the final phase of the German operation. Dr. Kessel's notes suggested the testing was complete. Allied intelligence later uncovered evidence that Kessel and his team did not retreat. They were extracted by a specialized U-boat from the coast of Brittany, taking the captured agent with them. A decoded, highly protected Abwehr dispatch from the final days of the German occupation mentions a priority scientific package, including live biological material, being transferred by submarine to a location known only as our base. This suggests the Germans were determined to continue their psychological research using the live OSS subject as a crucial experimental asset. This information was instantly shared with the highest levels of the U.S. Navy, triggering a panicked, undeclared pursuit across the Atlantic. The OSS officially closed the case, but secretly funded numerous deep-sea reconnaissance missions disguised as anti-submarine patrols for years after the war, desperately seeking the German U-boat and the live biological material. The profound legacy of Operation Delta Black lies not in the lost agents, but in the technology that supplanted them. The knowledge of the German ULF weapon was immediately incorporated into the subsequent U.S. research into sensory deprivation and acoustic warfare. This led directly to the formation of the highly classified Project Artichoke, later Project MKUltra, by the CIA, focused on psychological manipulation and extreme interrogation techniques. The core lesson learned from Project Phantom was clear. The most effective weapon against a trained mind is one that generates internal, inescapable fear. The U.S. sought to replicate this effect, replacing the German ULF technology with chemical and sensory deprivation methods. The entire OSS operation was erased to prevent the global disclosure of two devastating truths. First, that an elite American team was defeated by an invisible, psychological weapon. And second, that the German psychological technology was now likely operating from an undisclosed R base, potentially ready to deploy its ULF terror on a wider scale. The existence of the vanished Nightshade unit remains the ultimate, unspoken testament to the horrifying potential of psychological warfare in the technological age. The silent transfer of the captured OSS agent, Subject 6, and the sensitive Projekt Phantom research to the undisclosed R base in the final days of the war cemented the American need for a complete, enduring historical erasure. The OSS and the CIA, which absorbed its functions, understood that the most critical asset the Germans had salvaged was not the physical emitter, but the living proof that American elite training could be instantly negated by a /BM 4.5/text Hertz acoustic pulse. The fear was that our base was not a temporary hideout, but a permanent, offshore facility where the German scientists would refine the ULF's psychological weapon for the emerging Cold War. The entire disappearance of the Nightshade team was officially filed under losses due to enemy fire, misidentified location, a bureaucratic lie designed to provide a false narrative of heroism rather than admitting to a technological defeat that led to psychological breakdown. The OSS leadership internally classified the Projekt Phantom technology as non-conventional defeat vector, a threat that required a complete shift in intelligence doctrine. The hunt for the R base continued secretly for over a decade, disguised under various maritime and anti-submarine research projects. The U.S. Navy, using the fragmented intelligence about the U-boat transfer, concentrated its search on the vast, largely unexplored coastlines of South America and the far North Atlantic. This frantic, undeclared campaign became the true legacy of Operation Delta Black. We located a highly sensitive post-war U.S. Navy hydrographic survey map from 1952 labeled Zone 0, Unexplained Sonar Anomaly, highlighting an area off the coast of Patagonia. The map showed consistent, low-frequency, non-natural harmonic signatures emanating from a deep-sea cavern, signatures that closely matched the known ULF frequency range of Projekt Phantom. This discovery, though inconclusive, strongly suggests that the OSS' worst fear was realized. The German scientists had successfully transferred their research and the captured OSS agent to a protected, remote facility, continuing their forbidden psychological warfare research completely outside the jurisdiction of the Allied powers. The fate of the captured OSS agent, Subject 6, remained the darkest secret of the entire operation. His existence provided the German scientists with the ultimate test subject for refining the psychological weapon. The OSS was desperate to retrieve him, not only for humanitarian reasons, but because he possessed the terrifying knowledge of the ULF pulse's effect on the human mind. The final reference to the agent comes from a deeply suppressed, non-attributable CIA internal memo from 1963. The memo, discussing the ethical boundaries of sensory warfare research, includes a single, chilling sentence. The Delta Subject 6 proved resistant to chemical methods, but showed complete mental regression after prolonged acoustic exposure. The data confirms the /BM 4.5/text Hertz resonance as permanent and non-reversible. This confirms that the OSS agent survived for years in German custody, subjected to continuous psychological warfare testing at the R base. The ultimate, tragic fate of the Nightshade team leader was not death in battle, but a total, permanent psychological collapse induced by the silent, non-lethal frequency pulse, a fate that made him a technological ghost, his mind erased to serve the enemy's research. The revelation of the non-reversible mental regression triggered a massive, ethical crisis within the developing CIA psychological warfare programs, Projekt MKULTRA. The U.S. realized the ULF technology was too powerful and too ethically dangerous to pursue directly. The German achievement was not just a weapon against soldiers, it was a weapon against the very essence of human sanity. This knowledge drove the final, absolute historical obliteration of Operation Delta Black. The story had to be erased to ensure that the public never knew that a foreign power had successfully developed a weapon capable of causing total, permanent insanity through sound. The official reason became the preservation of national morale and the protection of future counterintelligence operations. The OSS Archives Forbidden File became the symbolic tomb of the Nightshade team. The psychological weapon was never used on the battlefield, but the fear of its existence permanently altered the course of Allied intelligence strategy. The lasting legacy of Operation Delta Black is the silent architectural proof of its failure. Years after the war, the massive concrete bunker in eastern France, the site of Projekt Phantom, was structurally surveyed by French authorities. Their blueprints revealed the central, circular acoustic chamber was designed with a specific, highly unusual feature: thick, internal walls built on seismic dampeners. This confirmed the entire structure was engineered to contain and manage massive, destabilizing acoustic resonance, the very ULF field described in the recovered German notes. The final truth is that the vanished Nightshade unit were victims of a scientific paradox. They were erased by a silent, invisible acoustic weapon contained within a massive, immovable concrete structure, a terrifying trap that was meticulously prepared to destroy the human mind at the frequency of fear. Their loss was the price paid for the world not knowing that the psychological battle was the most advanced and most terrifying technological front of World War II. The OSS agents remain lost, their true fate a permanent scar on the integrity of the Allied archives. What do you think? Was this a military breakthrough or an operation they erased on purpose?